Have you ever seen a father beg a stranger to save his child? Not because he was weak, not because he was helpless, but because life had taken everything from him, except the one thing he couldn't afford to lose. The rain that night didn't fall. It attacked. Heavy drops slammed against the cracked hospital windows, sliding down like tears that refused to stop. The sky growled with thunder, each rumble echoing the chaos inside Ethan's chest. The hospital itself felt tired, old walls, flickering lights, and the faint smell of antiseptic mixed with something colder, something hopeless. Ethan sat on a metal chair that felt like ice beneath him. His clothes clung to his skin, soaked from the storm, but he didn't care. He hadn't cared about anything. For hours. Except one thing, Lily, down the hallway, behind a pair of double doors that seemed too heavy for the world to carry. His 6-year-old daughter lay unconscious, tiny, fragile, fighting. Machines surrounded her tubes. Wires, blinking lights all working together to keep her alive, or trying to. Ethan's hands trembled as he stared at the floor, replaying the last few hours again and again. Her laughter in the morning, her sudden collapse. The panic, the ambulance, the doctor's face. "Sir, we need to operate immediately." That sentence had changed everything. "Mr. Ethan?" The voice pulled him back. The doctor stood in front of him again, his expression tight, professional. Distant, Ethan stood quickly, almost stumbling. "Yes? Is she okay?" The doctor hesitated, and that hesitation felt like a knife. "She needs surgery, urgently. There's internal bleeding. And complications we can't delay." "Then do it," Ethan said instantly. "Why are you waiting?" The doctor inhaled slowly. "The cost is approximately $180,000. The number didn't just sound big, it sounded impossible. Ethan blinked. "I don't have that." Silence stretched between them, cold, unforgiving. "I'm sorry," the doctor said quietly. "We require advance payment before proceeding." Ethan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. "No, you don't understand." He stepped forward, voice shaking. "She's 6. She's all I have. I understand." "No, you don't." Ethan snapped, then softened instantly. "Please, I'm begging you." The word hung there, begging. "I'll sign anything. I'll take a loan. I'll work for you. I'll clean floors if I have to. Just don't let her die." The doctor looked away, because sometimes even compassion has rules. "I suggest you arrange funds as soon as possible. Time is critical." Time. That word echoed like a ticking bomb. Ethan stumbled out of the hospital into the storm. The rain hit him instantly, but he didn't flinch. He walked blindly until his back hit a wall, then slowly slid down as his legs gave out for a moment. He tried to stay strong. He tried to hold it together. But then his shoulders shook and the tears came. "I'm sorry," he whispered into his hands. "I'm so sorry, Lily." Memories flooded him, her tiny fingers gripping his shirt, her voice saying, "Daddy, don't be late today." Her laugh. God, her laugh. "I promised I'd protect you." His voice broke completely. "And I can't even save you?" "Hey." The voice was soft, almost lost in the rain. Ethan didn't look up at first. He didn't want anyone to see him like this, but the voice came again. "Are you okay?" He slowly raised his head. A woman stood a few feet away, holding a small umbrella. The light from the hospital flickered behind her, casting a soft glow around her face. She didn't look rich. No designer clothes, no flashy jewelry, just simple, calm, present. Her eyes held something rare, genuine concern. "I'm fine," Ethan muttered, wiping his face. She didn't move. Didn't believe him. "You're not," she said gently. Something about her tone, it wasn't pity, it was understanding, and that made it harder to lie. Ethan looked away. "My daughter, she's dying." The words felt heavier when spoken out loud. The woman stepped closer. "What happened?" "She needs surgery," he said, "right now." "And?" He let out a hollow laugh. "I can't afford to save her." The woman went quiet, not shocked, not confused, just thinking, "How much?" She asked. Ethan shook his head. "It doesn't matter. Tell me." He hesitated. Why was she insisting? $180,000. He expected her to step back, to say she was sorry. Instead, she nodded. "Wait here." And then she turned and walked away. Ethan stared after her. For a moment, something inside him flickered. Hope? No, he shut it down immediately. She's not coming back. Nobody ever does. He leaned his head back against the wall, closing his eyes as the rain continued to fall. Seconds passed, then minutes, each one heavier than the last, until footsteps. He opened his eyes. She was back, holding a phone, walking straight toward him. "I've arranged the payment," she said calmly. Ethan blinked. "What?" She didn't repeat herself. Instead, she walked past him to the doctor who had just stepped outside. "Check your system," she said, handing him the phone. The doctor frowned, then pulled out his tablet. A few seconds passed. Then his expression changed. "The transfer is complete." The world went silent. Ethan felt like he couldn't breathe. This isn't real." He turned to her slowly. "Why would you do this?" She looked at him, really looked at him. "Because no child deserves to die. Because of money." The doors burst open. Doctors rushed inside. "Prepare the OR." "Move now!" Everything moved fast, too fast, but this time there was hope. As they wheeled Lily past him, Ethan grabbed her tiny hand. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm right here." Her fingers twitched weakly, then she disappeared behind the doors. Ethan stood there, frozen, then slowly turned back to the woman. "You saved her." His voice trembled. "I don't even know your name." She smiled softly. "Ava." He repeated it quietly. "Ava." Like it meant something more than just a name, but as Ethan stood there, filled with gratitude, there was something he didn't see across the street. A black car, engine running, watching, waiting, because the woman who just saved his daughter wasn't just kind, and the man she saved wasn't just broken. Have you ever trusted someone without knowing who they really are? And what if that trust wasn't an accident, but the beginning of something much bigger than you ever imagined? The hallway outside the operating room felt endless. Too long, too quiet, too heavy. Ethan hadn't moved in hours. Not really. He sat on the same cold metal chair, elbows resting on his knees, hands locked together so tightly his knuckles had turned pale. His eyes stayed fixed on the red light above the surgery door, glowing like a warning or a countdown. Each second dragged like a lifetime. Each passing minute whispered the same terrifying question. "What if she doesn't make it, Ethan?" The voice was soft, careful. He didn't respond at first, because he already knew who it was. Ava. She had stayed. That alone didn't make sense. People didn't stay, not without a reason. Not without expecting something in return. But she hadn't asked for anything, not even a thank you. "You should drink some water," she said gently, holding out a bottle. Ethan blinked, as if waking from a dream. "I'm fine." "You've said that before," she replied quietly. He gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm not very convincing." She sat beside him, not too close, but close enough that he didn't feel alone, and for some reason, that scared him more than the silence. "I don't understand," Ethan said after a long pause. Ava didn't look at him. "About what?" "Why you're still here." She took a slow breath. "Because someone should be simple." "Too simple. You don't even know me," he said. She turned her head slightly. "I know enough." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said softly, "I saw a father willing to break himself just to save his daughter." She paused. "And that tells me everything I need to know." Ethan looked away. Because hearing that hurt, not in a bad way, but in a way that made his chest feel tight, like someone had seen through him completely. "I wasn't always like this," he muttered. Ava didn't respond immediately. She just waited, and somehow that made him keep talking. "I used to think I had everything figured out." His voice was distant now, lost somewhere in the past. "Money, control, plans." He let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "Turns out none of that matters when you're sitting outside an operating room, wondering if your child is going to survive the night." Ava studied him silently. There was something in his tone. Not just pain, regret, deep, unresolved regret. "What about Lily's mother?" she asked gently. The question hung in the air, heavy. Ethan's jaw tightened. "She's gone." Ava's expression softened. "I'm sorry." He nodded slightly, but his eyes stayed fixed on the floor. "She was the kind of person who made everything feel lighter," he said. Like even your worst day wasn't that bad, as long as she was there. A small smile flickered across his face, then disappeared. I thought I had time, he whispered. Ava didn't interrupt. Didn't push, she just listened. And somehow, that made the silence feel safe instead of empty. Hours passed. The red light above the door stayed on, unchanging, unforgiving. Ethan's body felt heavy now, exhaustion creeping in. But sleep? That was impossible. At some point, Ava stood up quietly. I'll be back, she said. Ethan nodded absent-mindedly. He didn't even ask where she was going, because part of him believed she'd come back, and she did. 20 minutes later, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a small bag. You need to eat, she said, handing him a sandwich. I'm not hungry. I didn't ask if you were. He looked at her, surprised. There was a firmness in her voice now, different from before. Not cold, just certain. Reluctantly, he took the sandwich, took a small bite, then another. He hadn't realized how hungry he was. Thank you, he said quietly. Ava nodded, but her eyes, they drifted toward the operating room. And for just a second, something in her expression changed. Something guarded, outside the hospital. The black car was still there, engine running, lights off. Inside, a man in a suit spoke into his phone. Yes, she's still inside. Pause. No, he hasn't noticed anything. Another pause. Understood. He ended the call. His gaze returned to the hospital entrance, waiting, watching. Back inside, the red light finally turned off. Ethan stood up so fast the chair behind him fell with a loud clang. The doors opened. The doctor stepped out. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, she's stable. The words didn't just reach Ethan, they hit him like a wave. His legs gave out beneath him. He dropped to the floor, his hands covering his face as sobs tore through him. She's alive, he whispered. She's alive, Ava watched quietly, her eyes glistened. But she didn't interrupt the moment, didn't rush it. Because some emotions deserve space. After a few minutes, Ethan stood up slowly. His eyes were red, his face exhausted. But there was something new now, light, hope. He turned to Ava. I don't even know how to thank you. You already did, she said. When? When you didn't give up on her. Ethan shook his head. That's not enough. It is for me. Days passed. Lily remained in recovery, weak but alive. Each day she got a little stronger, a little more like herself. The first time she opened her eyes, Ethan was there, holding her hand. Hey, princess, he whispered. Her lips moved slightly. Daddy, his heart broke all over again, but this time, from relief, I'm right here. Ava stood by the door, watching, quiet. Later that evening, Lily looked at Ava curiously. Who are you? Ava smiled gently. A friend, Lily tilted her head. An angel? Ethan chuckled softly. Maybe she is. Ava laughed lightly. But something in her eyes flickered, like that word. Meant more than it should. She visited every day, never missed one. Bringing small things, books, coloring pencils, stories, but never about herself, and Ethan noticed. You don't talk much about your life, he said one evening. Ava shrugged slightly. Not much to talk about. That's hard to believe. Some lives, she said quietly, are better left unspoken. Ethan studied her. There was something there, something hidden. But he didn't push because he understood that feeling. More than anyone, but what he didn't know was that Ava knew more about him than she was letting on. That night, she stepped outside again. The air was colder now, quieter. The black car door opened. A man stepped out. Ma'am. Report? Ava said calmly. Background check complete. And? The man hesitated. Then he's not who he claims to be. Ava's expression didn't change, but her eyes, they sharpened. Explain. He's Ethan Halle. Silence. Former CEO of Halle Industries. For the first time, Ava looked shaken. Just slightly, but enough. She turned back toward the hospital entrance. Her thoughts racing. Why would a billionaire pretend to be nothing? Inside, Ethan sat beside Lily, gently brushing her hair back, unaware that everything was about to change. Cliffhanger, because the truth Ava just uncovered was powerful enough to destroy the trust between them. And the next time she looks at Ethan, She won't see a broken father anymore. She see a man hiding billions. What hurts more, being betrayed or realizing the person you trusted most was never honest with you? Morning didn't feel like morning. The sunlight that slipped through the hospital blinds felt cold, distant, almost unwelcome. Everything looked the same, but something had changed. Ava stood outside Lily's room, her hand resting lightly on the door handle. She hadn't gone in yet, not like she used to, not with that quiet warmth, today. There was hesitation, and something heavier, doubt. Inside, Ethan sat beside Lily's bed, gently peeling an orange, carefully, slowly, like even the smallest action mattered now. Lily watched him with sleepy eyes, her voice still weak. "Daddy, are we going home soon?" Ethan forced a smile. "Soon, princess. Just a little more rest, okay?" She nodded, trusting him completely. That trust. It cut deeper than anything. Because Ethan knew something Lily didn't. His life wasn't as simple as he made it look. And the past he buried was starting to rise again. The door creaked open. Ethan looked up, Ava walked in, but something was different. No soft smile, no gentle energy, just silence. "Hey," Ethan said, trying to sound normal. "You're late today." Ava didn't respond. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, cold, searching. Lily noticed it too. "Ava?" Ava immediately softened just a little as she stepped closer to the bed. "Hey, sweetheart," she said quietly. "You didn't bring a story today," Lily whispered. Ava hesitated. "I forgot." That wasn't like her, at all. Ethan stood up slowly. "Is everything okay?" Ava turned toward him, and that's when it happened. The moment everything cracked. "Who are you?" The question landed like a punch. Ethan frowned slightly. "What?" "Don't lie to me." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to cut through everything. Lily shifted uncomfortably in bed. "Daddy?" Ethan glanced at her quickly. "It's okay, baby. Go back to sleep." But she didn't, she watched. Because children always know when something is wrong. Ethan looked back at Ava. "I don't understand what you're talking about." Ava stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. "I know about Halle Industries." Silence, heavy, unavoidable. Ethan's face didn't change immediately. But his hands did, they tightened. "Just slightly, enough. You're Ethan Halle," she continued. "Former CEO, billion-dollar company, international deals." Each word felt deliberate, measured, and yet, she tilted her head slightly. "You're sitting here pretending you can't afford your daughter's surgery?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "The kind of breath that carries years of weight. You followed me." "I had to," Ava replied. "Nothing about you made sense, for a moment." Neither of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was filled with something dangerous. Truth. "Answer me," Ava said quietly. "Why?" Ethan looked away, toward the window, toward the light he couldn't feel. "I left that life." "That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters." Ava shook her head. "No, you don't get to hide behind that." Her voice cracked slightly now, not just anger, hurt. "I trusted you." That word hit harder than anything else. Trusted. Ethan turned back to her. And for the first time, there was no resistance left in his eyes, just exhaustion. "And truth, my wife died," he said. The room froze. Even the air felt still. Ava didn't move, didn't interrupt. But something inside her shifted. "She was in the hospital," Ethan continued, his voice low, unsteady. "Complications. Something that could have been handled. If I was there," he swallowed hard. "But I wasn't." Lily watched quietly, confused, but silent. "I was in a meeting," Ethan said. "A deal worth millions." His laugh came out broken. "Actually, billions." Ava's expression softened slightly, but she didn't speak. "I remember looking at my phone," he continued. "Seeing her name. Calling me again and again." His hands trembled now, and I silenced it. The words hung in the air, heavy, unforgiving. I told myself, "Just 5 more minutes," he whispered. "Just one signature." His voice cracked, and by the time I got there, he couldn't finish. Didn't need to. Ava closed her eyes briefly, because now she understood. "I chose money over her," Ethan said, "and I lost her." Silence. Deep, painful, real. I walked away from everything after that, he continued. The company, the wealth, all of it. Ava finally spoke. Then why couldn't you use it for Lily? Ethan shook his head. It's not that simple. Explain. My assets are frozen, he said. Legal disputes, internal corruption, people I trusted. Turned everything into a war. He let out a bitter breath. I can't access anything. Not without reopening everything I tried to escape. Ava studied him carefully, looking for lies, but she didn't find any. You still should have told me, she said. I didn't want you to help me because of who I was. I didn't, she replied instantly. I helped you because of who you are. Their eyes locked. Two truths. Two perspectives colliding. I was ashamed, Ethan admitted. And I was honest, Ava replied. The tension between them felt fragile now, like it could either break or heal, and then a small voice interrupted. Stop. They both turned. Lily was awake, her eyes filled with tears. Don't fight, she whispered weakly. You both saved me. The words hit them both instantly, like a mirror, reflecting everything that mattered. Ava stepped back slightly, her defenses weakening. Ethan looked at Lily, his chest tightening. I'm sorry, Ava said quietly. Me too, Ethan replied. For a moment, it felt like things might settle, like maybe they could move past it, but life doesn't work that way. Not when the past is still chasing you? Suddenly, the hospital doors burst open, loud, urgent, uncontrolled. Several men in suits rushed inside. Their presence was immediate, intimidating, out of place. Mr. Ethan Halley? Ethan turned slowly. Yes? You need to come with us. Ava's heart dropped. She recognized the tone. The authority. What is this about? Ethan asked. It's about your company, one of them replied. And everything you left behind. The room felt smaller, tighter. I'm not going anywhere, Ethan said firmly. Not without my daughter. You don't have a choice. Ava stepped forward. He's not going anywhere until you explain what's happening. The men looked at her, evaluating. Legal action has been initiated, one of them said. There are serious allegations. Ethan's jaw tightened. What kind of allegations? The man met his eyes. Fraud? Silence. Ava felt her pulse rise. This wasn't just about the past anymore. This was something bigger, darker. Ethan looked back at Lily, then at Ava, then back at them. I'll come, he said quietly. Daddy, Lily whispered. Ethan walked to her bedside. Kneeling down, taking her hand. I'll be back, he said softly. I promise, but promises don't always survive the truth. As the men escorted him out, Ava stood frozen, watching, thinking, realizing this wasn't over. Not even close? Cliffhanger, because Ethan's past wasn't just catching up to him. It was about to destroy everything he tried to rebuild. And this time, it might take Ava and Lily down with him. Have you ever been given a second chance and realized it might cost you everything you have left? The courtroom didn't feel real. It felt like a place built to judge not just actions, but souls, tall ceilings, cold marble floors, rows of silent faces. Every sound echoed, footsteps, whispers, even breathing. And at the center of it all, Ethan stood alone. He wore a simple suit, nothing like the ones he used to wear. No luxury, no power. Just a man, facing everything he tried to leave behind. Across the room, lawyers shuffled papers. Officials spoke in low tones. The air buzzed with tension. Words floated around him. Fraud? Mismanagement? Illegal transfers? Each one felt like a weight added to his chest. But Ethan didn't react. Not the way they expected, because the man standing there wasn't the same man who built Halley Industries. That man had been driven by ambition, by control, by numbers. This man? He was driven by something else, regret and a quiet determination to not lose again, Mr. Halley. The judge's voice cut through the noise. Ethan looked up. You are being accused of financial misconduct during your time as CEO. Pause. Do you deny these allegations? The room went silent. Every eye on him, waiting, judging. Ethan took a slow breath. I do. His voice was calm, steady, but calm wasn't enough. Not here. Evidence was presented. Documents, transactions, deals he barely recognized. Things signed under his name. but not by his hands. Betrayal from people he once trusted. Ethan clenched his jaw slightly. But he didn't speak, because he knew how this worked. Truth didn't always win, power did. At the back of the courtroom, Ava stood silently, watching everything, listening carefully. She hadn't spoken to Ethan since that day, not properly, not after the truth came out. But she came. Every single hearing, every moment, she watched him, studied him. Because she needed to know one thing: was he really the man he claimed to be, or just another powerful liar, hiding behind a tragic story? But the more she watched him, the more something inside her shifted. He didn't argue aggressively, didn't manipulate, didn't try to dominate the room. He just told the truth. And sometimes that's louder than anything else. The prosecution stepped forward. Your Honor, the evidence clearly shows that Mr. Halle was responsible for these transactions, Ethan's lawyer objected. Arguments flew, technical terms, legal pressure. But underneath all of it, one truth remained: Ethan's past was a battlefield. And now he was being dragged back into it. The judge leaned forward slightly. Mr. Halle, he said, unless someone steps forward to assume responsibility for the company's current state, your assets will remain frozen and you may face further consequences. Silence. Deep, heavy. Ethan didn't move, because he knew no one was coming, and maybe he didn't deserve anyone to. At that exact moment, a chair moved. Ava stood up. The sound echoed across the courtroom. Every head turned. Ethan looked back, confused, shocked. Ava walked forward slowly, calm, controlled, unshaken. I will. The words landed like thunder. The judge frowned slightly. Identify yourself. Ava Morgan, she said. And I am the majority shareholder of Halle Industries. The room erupted. Whispers, shock, confusion. Ethan froze. What? Ava didn't look at him yet. Her focus stayed on the judge. I've been overseeing the company's internal situation for months. Then why have you not intervened earlier? The judge asked. Because I needed to understand the truth first, she paused. Then added, and now I do, finally. She turned toward Ethan. Their eyes met. There was no anger now, no distance. Just something deeper, understanding. I will take full responsibility for restructuring the company, she continued. And I will provide evidence clearing Mr. Halle of any direct involvement in these fraudulent activities. The courtroom fell silent again, but this time, it wasn't heavy, it was stunned. Ethan took a step forward. Ava, why? She held his gaze. Because this moment mattered. Because you walked away from power, she said quietly. Not because you lost it, but because you chose something more important. Her voice softened. Most people spend their lives chasing wealth. Pause. You gave it up for love. Ethan felt his chest tighten. And that tells me, she continued, you're not the man they're trying to paint you as. Silence. And that's the kind of man, she took a breath, worth standing up for. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, not loud, not dramatic. Just quiet, real. For the first time in years, someone believed him. Not because of his past, but because of who he became weeks past. Investigations reopened, hidden records surfaced, corrupt executives exposed. Everything Ethan had suspected was proven true. He was cleared fully, the company rebuilt, but differently this time. Transparent, honest, accountable, and Ava, she didn't just fix it. She transformed it, but the biggest change was Ethan. He was offered everything back: position, power, control, and for a moment, he considered it. Then he looked at Lily, running across a park, laughing, alive, and he made his choice. No, he said. I've already lost too much chasing that life. Instead, he chose balance. He stayed involved, but not consumed. He became present, as a father, as a human being. One evening, the sun dipped low across the sky, painting everything in warm gold. Lily ran ahead, her laughter echoing through the park. Daddy, catch me! Ethan smiled as he chased after her, not rushed, not distracted, just there. Ava sat on a nearby bench watching them, quiet, peaceful. Ethan eventually sat beside her, breathing lightly, smiling. You didn't have to do that, he said. Ava tilted her head slightly. Which part? Saving my life. She shook her head softly. I didn't save your life. Pause. You changed it yourself. Ethan looked at her, really looked this time. You saw something in me when I had nothing left? Ava smiled faintly. Sometimes people don't need money. They need someone to believe in them. At the exact moment they're breaking, silence settled between them. But it wasn't uncomfortable, it was peaceful. Lily ran back toward them. Are you two talking about boring stuff again? Ethan laughed. Always, Lily grabbed Ava's hand. Come play with us. Ava hesitated for a second, then stood. And just like that, they walked together, not as strangers, not as saviors, but as something more human, connected. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan looked around. At Lily, at Ava, at this quiet, imperfect, beautiful life. And he realized something powerful. Sometimes the person who saves you isn't the one with the power, it's the one who shows up when you have none left. Final narration, slow, emotional tone. Not all heroes are loud, not all miracles are planned, and not all second chances come with warning, but when they do, hold on to them, because they might just save everything.